So we now move to a completely new European funding opportunity that is the one of the European Digital Program. The digital technologies are transforming our world. The society is changing in the way in which we interact, communicate, and educate. The economy is also changing in the way in which we are working and doing business. And also the way in which we interact with the environment is changing thanks to the use of digital technologies. For example, how we interact with the natural resources. We heard yesterday and today that the twin transition to a green and digital Europe is the defining challenge of our generation. And this challenge has been made even more important due to the current COVID crisis. To reach this transition, it's clear that we don't only need funding for research and innovation as offered by Horizon Europe, but we also need funding for the deployment of digital technologies. And the Digital Europe program is the answer to this need. The Digital Europe program, also called DEPHE, is a totally new European program that focuses exactly on the delivery of actual results. The goal of DEPHE is to deploy digital technologies and building strategic capacities. Strategic capacity both in the technology that we need, but also in the necessary digital skills to operate them. DEPHE is divided in 5 strategic objectives, a kind of equivalence of the pillars in Horizon Europe. The first one is high-performance computing. The second is cloud, data, and artificial intelligence. The third one is cybersecurity and trust. The fourth one is a transversal objective that is the one that advances the digital skills needed to operate the first 3 objectives. And the last one is again a complete new objective that is the one of accelerating the best use of digital technologies. We are going to use this structure to dive deeper into the funding opportunities that are available for you in DEPHE. I want to stress that Digital Europe program is a huge funding opportunity, and you should not miss it only because it's a new program. The total budget for the next 7 years is of 7.5 billion euro for deploying digital technologies. You can see how this budget is divided in the different objectives as in this figure. Unfortunately, cybersecurity is in red because there could be limitation to the participation of this funding for not member states, even if associated to this program. So let's dive into each of these strategic objectives. We start from high-performance computing. The goal of DEPHE is to provide Europe with world-class HPC capabilities, both the infrastructure and the know-how. Behind the funding in this objective, there is a European partnership called the EuroHPC that has exactly this goal of providing world-class HPC in Europe. EuroHPC has defined 3 main priorities for the next couple of years. These priorities are called work strengths. The first priority focuses on the acquisition of HPC capability, trying to reach the exascale supercomputing capability. Next to the acquisition, this will be done by purchasing new computers and deploy them in Europe. Once we have this capability, the next priority, where there will fund opportunities for you, is to provide access to this capability. The goal is to federate national and European HPC resources into a common platform. This platform will provide access to HPC to the widest users. And the last priorities for the next couple of years is building capacity. Here we want to make sure that we are widening the use of HPC to all sectors. This includes industry, but also academia and the public sector. We move to the second strategic objective of DEPHE. This is cloud, data, and artificial intelligence. Europe wants to create a true European data economy. And based on this data economy, it wants to bring human-centered artificial intelligence solutions. Bringing ahead this digital technology, the European value of trust, privacy, and climate neutrality should always consider. In this important strategic objective, we see three main work strands that are these priorities for the next couple of years. The first is Cloud Federation. The goal here is to establish an European-wide common data space. The key word for here is the interoperability of the data. Also, the infrastructure of this Cloud Federation is very interesting. They will be finding to create a cloud-to-edge infrastructure. Once we have the infrastructure, the next priority is to provide data for Europe. The goal here is to offer access to data in key industrial and societal sector, as well as offering basic artificial intelligence tools that lives on this data. This part will be then a base for large-scale experimentation on artificial intelligence. And this is funded in this third priority that focuses exactly in use all the previously mentioned aspects from HPC, data, and cloud to deploy reference, testing, and experimentation facilities. Here, the European Commission identifies 5 prioritized application areas that goes from health, sustainable communities, manufacturing, agriculture, and edge artificial intelligence. We now skip cybersecurity aspect for the limitation that we mentioned before, and we go to a transversal strategic objective that is the one of advancing the use of digital skills. It is clear that Europe not only must drastically improve the digital capacities, but it needs also to improve the necessary digital skills to operate them. To do so in depth, there are 2 work strands, 2 priorities. The first one looks at the long horizon. It's the one of deploying specialized educational programs. These programs needs to be designed to support the creation of future experts in key capacity areas. And this is done by developing master degrees and traineeship for our future expert. The second priority instead is on the short term, is on the upskilling of the workforce. Here the focus is clearly on the existing workforce that needs different type of capacity building. Here, funding opportunities will be present to develop short training in the latest key digital technologies for the existing workforce. Very importantly, within this work strand, there will be funding to address the digital transformation also of the educational sector. Once again, a priority in this period. The last strategic objective is the accelerating the best use of technologies. All the funding in this part of DEPHE, they are designed to support industry, SME, and public administration in their digital transformation. Remember, we are looking at the twin digital and green transition. So funding here, they always have to meet the sustainability goal set by the European Green Deal. Here we have plenty of work strands. We start with the first one, that is the fascinating destination Earth. Here the goal is to deploy a digital replica of the Earth system. This replica will enable user groups to interact with a vast amount of natural information. Once again, the overarching goal is to use data to reach sustainability. The second priority is for smart communities. Here, funding are available to create an exchange platform for European climate neutral and smart communities. These communities need to use digital technologies to address the goal of sustainability stated in the European Green Deal. The next priority for the next years is on blockchain. The goal is to improve the European blockchain service infrastructure. And here funding are present not only to improve the technology, but also to create a regulatory sandbox for the blockchain in order to allow SME and other actors to experiment with this technology. The next work trend focuses instead on digital government. Here, all the support is given for the digital transformation of the public administration. The goal is to give access to common services across all European administration that are interoperable. Interesting here, there is also the support for the digitalization of the juridical system, customer protection, and also law enforcement, which is particularly interesting in the application of artificial intelligence. It's clear to the European Commission that we cannot deploy digital technologies if we are not building trust in them. So building trust in digital transformation is a priority. Within this large priority, the first funding that are offered in DEPHE for building trust goes towards building a better internet for kids and building the European Digital Media Observatory. The last work strand is a very important one. It's called the European Digital Innovation Hubs. The goal here is to create an European network of innovation hubs in all regions of Europe. These physical hubs have two main roles. The first one is to give access to technology to SME, and the second one is also to provide advice for the digital transformation of the public sector. The philosophy behind is that this actor can test digital technology before investing it. Some of you, they are already familiar with similar structure that is the one of the Swiss innovation parks already established in Switzerland. With this, we cover all the funding opportunities in depth, and I want to spend 1 minute explaining the complementarity and synergy between two different programs. From one side, we have the Digital Europe program, and on the other side, we have the Horizon Europe program, which you heard in the last 2 days. The two programs has been designed to be complementary. DEPHE focuses more on the concrete deployment of digital technologies, while the Horizon Europe remains more focused on research and innovation-oriented projects. There are also plenty of synergies between these two programs. The main one is with Cluster 4, the part of the digital technologies in Horizon Europe. So if you are interested in the digital technology in Horizon Europe, remember to have a look also at the opportunity offered by the Digital Europe program. Also, to give you an example, there are similar actors working behind the two programs. One example is the Euro-HPC partnership. For DEPHE, we are expecting the first call to be open in April 2021. Similar to Horizon Europe, the goal of Switzerland is to be fully associated to this program, unfortunately with some limitation on the security aspect as we discussed before. The same information that you find for Horizon Europe are present on the question and answer webpage of the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research and Innovation. Francesco and I are here to support you. If you have questions on this program, you can write us at digital@euresearch.ch. I want to close by mentioning that DEPHE is the new European program designed to bring concrete deployment of digital technologies to achieve the twin transition toward a green and digital Europe. Do not miss this huge funding opportunity to make an impact for digital and a sustainable Europe. Thank you very much, and I give back the screen to Sasha.